Last Christmas, the top of this little dresser inadvertently became the gathering place for Afton Sparv and Mumderporg. They're married. And if you look over here, I've set up this little drawer divider as a bookshelf for them. But there's not many things on it, so let's change that. A while back, I was scrolling on the internet, as one does, and I came across these pictures of these antique, super embellished books, and I, once again, really wanted them. And I definitely could have made a full-size version for one of my pre-existing books, but I thought, why don't I live vicariously through my dolls and make a bunch of tiny little versions for them instead. Hi, my name is Emily and I am an amateur miniature artist. So in terms of materials, I do have a bunch of seed beads as you saw in my cowboy earring video. And I also got this big binder ring of leather samples that my sister gave me. And I also dug out my sister's leather working kit just in case I needed it. Some more leather samples, tool, just a bunch of things that I'm not sure how to use yet, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. In the same storage box where I found this leather working set, I also found this book of cats, and it just features various cats from classical paintings. Like, why has this been in storage this whole time and not on my shelf? Let's see if I can find Milo in here. Oh, that is an evil Milo stare for sure. And I guess that's me? Before I could get to any fancy leatherwork, first I had to make the paper blocks. And for this, I am using my stash of faux antique letter paper. Oh, come on. That should be thick enough. Like I said before, everything I know about bookbinding comes from those Nerdforge videos where they make incredibly stupid books. Stupid, affectionate. I'm going to try making one book first before making any other ones, just to make sure I like the workflow of it. I know ideally you should use PVA glue for bookbinding, but I only have white glue, which is weak sauce, and wood glue, which is overkill. So I decided to use my repositionable tacky glue instead because it dries clear and stays flexible. Will this work out, or will this all fall apart? I guess that's what this first book experiment is for. I'm sniffling because I was looking for something in my room this morning and it kicked up a bunch of dust. What's funny is that yesterday I was telling my friend how if I ever get my own workspace separate from my bedroom, I would cover the floor entirely in rugs. And she was like, you would probably need a warning sign on your door saying, everything in my room is an allergy hazard. And now I'm paying the price. Now we just wait for all of this to dry. I had just enough paper scraps to make a teeny tiny book. To make the binding extra secure, I also glued a piece of fabric to it. Now, is this incredibly sticky? Yes, but I'm going to test if all the pages start falling apart if I open it. Okay, seems like it's holding up pretty well. I mean, once I put it on the shelf, I'm probably not going to be opening it anyway, but it seems like it's doing pretty well. I also decided to add cardboard spine and covers for extra stability. Am I putting too much effort into this? I just want my books to be perfect. While that's drying, let's look at some of those covers. I wanted to do something like this. Floral, planty, botanical. I don't think it'll be possible to do all of it with beading on such a small scale. So I was thinking I could use some of these leather acrylics that my sister also gave me. And I'll paint on the flower and leaves and stuff first. And then after the paint is dry, I'll accentuate the design with some choice beading. Sounds like a plan. As for the color of the leather itself, my table is getting way too cluttered. Throw this away before it gets glued onto anything. Something pale, like this one, would be perfect. Oh, I didn't consider this. I hope this is big enough for my book. Seems like it should just fit. So here I wanted to try machine stitching the spine embroidery. The machine, however, did not particularly like the thickness of the leather and I had trouble getting nice even stitches, but these turned out to be great guidelines for decorating later on. And then I sketched out the design. The only part I was painting was the flower in the center, and the rest was going to be beaded. You might have also already noticed in the previous clips, but I also added some fake headbands using these rickrack ribbons. So I just woke up and I realized a grave mistake. I made it exactly 6 centimeters tall, and now there's no tolerance and it can't fit in the shelf anymore. It's okay, I guess I can just put it like diagonally. Anyway, let's get painting. Oh, Jesus. So now I'm going to let the paint dry. The bottle does say it takes 48 hours before you can use it, but I figure as long as it's dry to the touch, I can start beating it with no problem. The paint is now dry to the touch, so let's get beating. I want to do the outline around the flower petals first. Right away, I ran into some problems. Number 1, the leather was pretty hard to puncture with the teeny weeny sewing needle. And number 2, the needle wasn't teeny weeny enough to pass through the little gold seed beads. I once again broke out my super thin needles and... oh, I can pre-pierce the fabric with this thing. The all-out, not owl. And then I would use the mallet. Well, something definitely happened. Oops. First heart-shaped petal is all done. In the center here, I want to put a bigger pearly bead to make up this white orb in the middle here. And I found this perfect one that looks... oops. Well, I immediately lost it, so I guess we're gonna have to pick a different one. This bead, which is a little smaller than the previous one, but the same amount of old and decrepit looking. Now for the stem. After a billion years, it's finally done. I mean the circle, not the cover itself. I brainstormed how I could bead the rest of the cover, but I didn't really like how stiff and inorganic it all looked, so I got some green embroidery floss and braided them together so that I could create some curly, flowy designs. To make the design look even more natural, I added 4 orange beads in each corner to represent berries, and then some miscellaneous gold and green beads to fill up the blank spots. And then, to make sure the back isn't too boring, I used what was left of the green braid to make a rectangle. So now I think we're finally ready to glue the cover onto the book. In case you're wondering what the back of the embroidered cover looks like that. And just for fun, I added a gold ribbon bookmark. Now I am considering if I should wrap all of the leather's raw edges with this yellow braid that I did yesterday. I'm so glad I decided to do the edge finishing. It just looks so put together. I'm gonna set this aside and let it fully dry. And in the meantime, we can get making our second book. So for the second book, I was thinking I can make one of those books with the pages cut out on the inside so that you can hide something in it. And luckily for me, I have one of these little vials that I made for my vampire box. This is just one that I had left over. And I think this would work perfectly for my little book hidey hole. For said hidey hole, I used my Cricut to cut them come out. I was a bit worried this wouldn't work since the paper has very long fibers and is strangely resistant to being cut, but surprisingly, aside from some very minor jagged edges, it all worked out. So I think I just need to cut out one more sheet of this and then it should be enough for the whole book. Perfect. I'm so glad this worked out. By the way, look at my very detailed plan for this book. While this is drying, I thought I'd explain what I plan for this cover. I'm going to be using this super dark brown Polyform Techno leather. This is slightly thinner than the other one we just used. And I'm going to cheat a little and use this leftover fancy cross from my Vampire Box video and just glue it straight on top. I knew this would come in handy one day. Before gluing all of this together, I am also going to add a fake headband and a bookmark. And maybe some spine details? I'll see. So while looking for red embroidery thread, I also happened to find some red ribbon. It's all coming together. I very stupidly used a marker to mark out the cut lines on the leather, and so I decided to cover up this exposed bit with what was left of that red ribbon. For the spine, I dug out these round and square studs from my stash and very carefully perforated the leather and bent the spikes into place. And while waiting for the glue to dry, I decided to give the cross a nasty, filthy wash of brown and rust-colored acrylic paint. You know those piratology, Egyptology books that every kid wanted? These ones, with their fancy covers embedded with the jewels and stuff. I actually have the Greek mythology one, and this is my treasured possession. I remember there are some golden oak leaves somewhere in here, and I freaking loved them. We laminated them so they wouldn't get folded and rumpled. But basically, for the third book, I was thinking we can make something like this. And that is why I've dug up all the rhinestones I could, but hopefully I can cobble together something that is super opulent and bejeweled like those ology books. For this book, however, I wanted to do something different for the pages inside. I wanted to go outside and draw some pictures of nature, inspired by this mushroom mini book that I got at a book fair recently. Nature sketches probably would have worked better for the first book I made, but maybe it's a good thing I didn't do that because the book is basically impossible to pry open. And then off I went to my dad's garden to look for some models. So I did not expect to have enough photos to fill up all the pages, but I did, so that's surprising. Now I'm gonna color them with some alcohol markers. I'm going to split these into 2 books. So I glued these up and I was going to make one of them the Egyptology, mythology inspired book, but I feel like the nature, flowery vibe doesn't really fit that style, so what I decided to do was pictures of cats.
And then I got started on that mythology-inspired book, using this thin chartreuse leather. Aside from rhinestones, I also found some trinkets that I thought might come in handy.
M for Mumderpork, that is her legal name. This earring, which has a little coin on it. Another part of that earring. I don't know what this is. Some more pieces of that earring. And lastly, swag.
The faded silver of the center charm didn't match the rest of the cover all that well, so I painted it black and then dry brushed some gold on it for that nice antique look.
I think this looks so much cooler. Excuse me if you can hear my neighbor's really loud AC, but basically, I'm not really a fan of how tacked on the red rhinestones look, so I'm going to surround them with these teeny tiny jump rings. These two, I was thinking I could make one of those fancy, old-timey leather-bound journals. Something like this with a strap and an overlap of the cover. And I just so happen to find this little key charm that I can loop into the cover, just like in the reference picture.
This time I used the Rhone red leather, and instead of using a marker, I used a charcoal pencil to mark out the cut lines because it is erasable.
So I was trying to figure out how to buckle the strap in place. It seems like the strap just goes around, it attaches to the key, and the key goes into the slot, and that's how the book is kept shut. I also need some decorative straps for the spine.
And so I did exactly that. I cut out a long thin strap, punctured a hole in one end, and then attached the key to it with a jump ring. And I did have to shorten the cover a tad bit so there'd be enough space for the key to slot into its own little strap. For the spine decoration, I cut some slits into the leather and fed this brown cord through it, and also this thinner brown cord so it looked even more intricate. And after that, it was simply a matter of gluing. First the paper block, then the little key strap, and then finally the main strap itself.
So I was thinking about how I could make this book look more interesting, because right now it's pretty plain compared to all the other ones. And I was thinking I could use some of this brown cord to line the strap itself so that there's some contrast.
And in the end, I also decided to add the cord all around the raw edges. And this project taught me one very important thing. I should really invest in some matte glue.
So I wasn't sure what kind of cover I wanted for the second sketchbook, but then I was looking at this heart-shaped bird pendant that was on the same necklace as the key, and I feel like this would look really cool on a sketchbook cover. Ooh, this really bright red one. What do we think? Although I kind of want to use this olive green because we haven't had a green book yet. This looks like a good color match, right? Or maybe this really saturated jewel green. So I think it would be really cool if I could find a way to cinch together the open ends of the book with a little lock. So I'm gonna go see if I have some kind of lock charm.
The inspiration behind this was the fact the little bird charm on that bright green cover gave me preteen diary vibes, and as someone who did have a cute little diary as a preteen, I remember vividly the lock on the side that prevented anyone from peering into your secrets. And so I thought this little diary must have one too.
I didn't find anything in my downstairs stash, but I remembered I have this sack of little charms and trinkets from a subscriber. Thank you so much. I see some keys. Oh, yes! Oh my god, and it comes with a matching key as well. Perfect. So the plan is to use some ribbon to create little loops to hold some jump rings. And then once the jump rings are attached, I can use this little clasp to hold the jump rings together. And then on this little clasp, of course, I'll attach the lock. So it looks like the lock is holding the book together.
I swear listening to my neighbor's AC in the playback is killing me. But anyway, I prepared the lock charm by cutting off its loop-de-doop and then attaching it to the clasp. Then I glued the pre-prepared jump ring ribbon combo onto the back of the covers, and while waiting for all that to dry, I decided to paint the lock and key to match the bird's charm better.
So I tried putting the key on the lock just to see how it looked, and I think it definitely is too much. And also, who does this? Who keeps their lock and key in the same place?
And so I put the key where any normal person would put it, inside the thing they're locking.
So the glue on this is dry now, but unfortunately I kind of messed up doing the covers. You can see here the pages kind of shifted out of place. It's all still stuck together, which is good, but it doesn't close properly anymore. So I think I'm going to have to glue some ribbons to the inside of the covers so that I can tie this shut. So the plan was to just tie these together by hand in a little bow tie, but I think that would be very tedious step to do every single time, untying it and then retying it. So I figured I should take these little jump rings and make a belt buckle.
As some finishing touches, I braided another set of green embroidery floss to glue around the raw edges of the mythology book, and similarly for the diary, I took the tarnished silver chain the bird and key charms used to live on and glued it all around the edges. And now, at long last, it is finally time for the final reveal. And there we have it, a mini library for the Porg Aftonspar family.
This is a very awkward angle to be filming in. But yeah, I had a ton of fun making the tiny, intricate little books. I had a lot of mind-twisty problem solving, figuring out how to get all the little details and what designs I should put on each book. And you might have noticed that there are actually 2 more tiny books that I didn't film the making of. And these are actually made, scrap leather and scrap paper. I think I will put these up on Etsy or something, so if you want to own one of these little tiny books, I'll link my store below. I'll also throw in one of these leftover prints. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're very happy for Porg and Aftomsparv. Okay, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!
By the way, I recently got a PO box, which is mostly for business purposes, but that means that you guys can also send me things too. Only if you really want to though, don't feel pressured to do any of it. But yeah, the details to that will be in the description box below, and thank you for watching this video. Bye!